Welcome to the Society Pod, a podcast for entrepreneurs, marketers, and leaders. Here's your host, Jessica Yarmy.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Society Pod. My guest today is the Vice President of Growth and Development at Healthtrax Fitness and Wellness. He's a founding partner of the Earn Your Stripes High Intensity Fitness program. He's a father, a husband, a motivator, a coach, and all around a legend in the fitness industry. So welcome to the show, Matt Wright.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I could ever beat that introduction. Thank you. You know,
What
I
did
gotta,
what did I miss though? Like I know there's a whole lot of other things that you're involved in that I probably didn't touch on.
no, right now my bread and butter, of course, is both Earn Your Stripes and my new role as the Vice President of Growth and Development with Healthtrax. But as long as you hit that I was a husband and a girl dad, that's the thing that means the most to me. So I'm happy. But you also left out international speed. No, I'm just joking.
Drop all of the stats now. We need all
No.
of the accolades. I am excited for you in this new role, and I know it's fairly recent, just a few months ago.
Yeah, I think this is the end of week 7, as a matter of fact.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, so tell me about Healthtrax. I'm down here in Texas, and I
yeah.
don't have a Healthtrax near me.
No, no, no. So we're predominantly located in New England, and the cool thing about this is I had sort of shared this as my coming home story, but the organization's been around for 45 years, predominantly throughout, like I'd said, New England, and I came on as a fitness director way early in my career, back in 2008, showing age. And had a really incredible stint there as a fitness director. Ended up leaving because I got a really cool PhD scholarship opportunity. Realized that I had far more tattoos and played way more video games than most PhD students. So I just didn't feel it was right for me. I had the taste of being an adjunct professor prior to that, where I taught kinesiology and anatomy and physiology. So I was like, this is going to be my thing. And that's kind of my big story. It's a lot of sort of this crazy roller coaster, as I know you know all about. But then after I left that program, I got invited to go back to Healthtrax. And I went up to New England during that stint, spent 4 years up there, and became a regional director of fitness until we wanted to start a family and came back to Jersey. And in all honesty, this third stint is back to being about family, where right now I'm actually in my studio, my former employer, as a matter of fact, but we have our first Earn Your Stripes flagship here. So I came up here, but we're moving about an hour and 15 minutes south of here, just outside of Philadelphia on the Jersey side. So, you know, Healthtrax has been around in these past 45 years and really made a mark in the industry by being able to partner with hospitals and other healthcare organizations and really take care of a little bit more of an older demographic, but also really trying to be, a place where families could come together for health and fitness. It's no different than many other models that are out there, but I think the way that really pay attention to the people that are part of our team and a part of the community, we really try to lead from the front with our hearts. It's the Simon Sinek, we're a heart count, not head count type of organization. So it's exciting to be back. I'm really honored.
I love that it's the third time back through the organization. It's definitely an example of why you don't burn bridges, especially in such a small
No,
family as the fitness family.
no.
Does your daughter work out with you at this point?
4.5. So
Uh-huh.
when we go on family runs, she's allowed to run from the last stop sign to our stop sign in front of our house.
Uh-huh.
And my other one just turned 2, June 7th. So she actually had her last little bit where she ran with us as well at that little streak, which was really cool. So
Okay.
mom's a big at-home Pelotoner.
Hmm.
So they're always usually climbing on top of mom during her workouts. But you could tell they've already got the bug. They sure as hell have the energy.
My boy is 13, as you know, and he started going to the gym with me, and I can still beat him on every exercise, but it's getting close in some.
Uh-oh.
And
Okay.
we're at that point where I know he's taller than me. He's like about to get stronger than me, and that's going to be my motivation going forward, is just like try to stay ahead of him. But
Yeah.
I love that they have that family focus. And I know that they're also big on classes and just offering different, classes to their members. Like, what other trends are you keeping your eyes on just to kind of keep Health Tracks ahead of the curve?
I'm really, really big on the employee benefit right now. So just some things that we've integrated because, the turnover in the industry or the retention, which is prior research would always end up saying it was like, some would say it's 12 months, some would say it's 18 months or 24 months, of course, position dependent. So where I sort of balance the growth and development side of this, which is I'm trying to help grow the company through, of course, memberships and ancillaries and partnerships, et cetera. But the development side is how we're developing our people to be successful because, just like myself, when I started out as a trainer, I wanted to be able to build a career in this because I love a life of service. So I think for us right now is leaning into that. Like we're starting a bi-weekly podcast where myself and the VP of personal training are just going to kind of rap back and forth. I'd love to actually have you on if you're interested, just to be able to share some knowledge as well. Um,
Absolutely.
that's one example of what we're doing. We're going to do something similar with the sales team because we do have these 18 clubs, and there's only one in New Jersey, one out in Long Island, one down in Raleigh, and the rest are spread through Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut. If anything that we can use through this is like I can jump on, record myself, and hopefully provide a little nugget for everybody. And it's the now consistency of it. So really being able
Yeah.
to lean into them. And the second thing is, the two that have stuck out to me because I wasn't a part of this, but they've committed to developing a stretch and flex program for stretch and recovery, and then also being able to build out these recovery lounges. I'm big on looking at member use and what they're doing, and are those usages based on human interaction, meaning are they meeting with the trainer? Are they meeting with a group fitness or studio instructor? I call them pinch points. So when you end up creating a pinch point, you build some type of connection and relation, and it's our job to try to put all of these together.
I want to circle back to the employee turnover thing because I was actually gonna talk with you about that because I know it's a passion area for you. My first job out of college was in the fitness realm, and it was
Hmm.
just a part-time job at the front desk of a
Yeah,
local gym. And I was an athlete in college, and I didn't entirely connect the dots of like how to create a career path through
hmm,
the things that I loved in fitness and in wellness. And I think, like you just said, a lot of personal trainers get into the space and then they feel capped with their
yeah.
potential. How much are you getting involved in like showing them here's different paths and then also showing them different paths that may be kind of tangential to health tracks? Like here's how you can also like extend your presence online, or like here's how you can kind of like start your digital library in addition to the in
Yeah.
club library. Like how do you guide trainers to understand here's the bigger picture and how you can show up in an even bigger way?
I think it's such a huge topic. If we go back, right, it's like, oh, you became a trainer, then you can work yourself into sales, and then you become and it's like, come on, we all know the best trainer, not the best fitness director, the best salesperson, not the best GM or sales manager. So it's getting to really understand what people's like, almost like doing a strengths finder of what matters most to people. I do this always through my interviews, which is I say, it's like, all right, Jessica, what is your career goal? I don't care if it's not with us. What is your career goal? Like, I'm still trying to figure out mine, right? Like, I don't know what it is. I just want to impact and influence. I think when you can coach people to know that it's not just about this sort of transactional job experience of like, oh, you're a trainer. Oh, you're the front desk person. Oh, you just clean and keep our facility spotless. When you take care into the conversation, it changes the way that person wants to work for you as well. Like I start every meeting with, remember, I work for you, you don't work for me. So specifically what we do at Healthtrax is, I'll speak to just the trainers, but we immediately try to send them away to a Healthtrax university where it's a 2-day workshop where it's actually applied training. And I wrote this program actually back in 2015, and they're still doing it, which is cool to see. And it's evolved gratefully. And one of the first things that we do is we goal set. They have to professional goal set, personal goal set, financial goal set, relationship goal set, leisure goal set. And there's probably something else in there that I'm missing off the top of my head, but have them write everything down so that it's something that they can look at. And we want them to share that with us so we know what matters to them. something that I had taken from back when the URSA would have the URSA Institute. They'd have you write a letter to yourself and then mail it to your house.
Mhm.
So I've even had them do that at the end of the workshop, which is I want you to write a letter to yourself, and I would mail it to them 6 months later to see where they were. So that opened up that area. And then the other part just that we're doing is we invite people to the calls. So now membership can partake in stretch and flex calls. Stretch and flex, maybe trainers are starting to attend some of the operations calls. And it's a nice way to be able to bridge the gap because it has to operate cohesively. And you could
Yeah.
put every plan or playbook together, but that's not how it runs in the day to day. So if we can teach people to be committed, agile, and trustworthy of each other, I think that's where that formula comes.
I was just in a meeting with someone and I was talking about how we built our team at Kick House, and
Hmm.
their complaint was like, "Oh, our team is so small. We only have an internal team of 4 people." And I'm like, "You have all of the people that are out in the field also."
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird dynamics that sometimes the more work you give them, the more bought in they are with you.
Yeah.
And as soon as I realized that unlock of, oh, I can dish more homework, and the more homework I give them, the more they're going to be a part of the build,
Yeah.
and they're going to feel a part of something bigger. I just started to, okay, I need help with this. I need help with this. And I just started to dish things out, but it just created this like woven team that
Yep.
like somebody in this club is doing this, another person's doing this. And I think especially as you get to multi-club, clubs feel isolated sometimes,
Hmm.
especially if they're on their own geographically and there's not a nearby club. And so like,
Yeah.
how do you coach owners or maybe general managers to integrate their people together a little bit more?
I guess there's a couple different routes to go because I like what you had said about being able to give them more. So I always use the do I have permission to challenge you,
Hmm.
right? So once they sort of let that barrier down, because everyone does this before they do this, and then you start to kind of see what the person's potential and work ethic's going to be. I don't ever expect people to be like mine or to be like my top performer, but if I can help them find their strengths and areas of opportunities, because so many people are like, oh well, I would, but oh, but well, we don't do that because of this, or oh well, you guys do that because you can down in New Jersey and your club's newer. I think meeting them where they are, um, and then knowing that they end up having the support is probably the most important thing from that, especially when you start to scale to a little bit bigger. I mean, even for Earn Your Stripes for us, I mean, we only have this studio here in Jersey and then down in Lakeland, Florida. But you can feel the differences of what that model is like because it's a standalone. We're a studio in a health club here. And just those differences in how it works because membership doesn't function the same way, marketing doesn't function the same way. So it's this constant figuring out. I mean, I think as leaders, that's what we're really charged with doing is it's almost like every day you're given a Rubik's Cube. And guess what? Unless you're really good at the Rubik's Cube, you're not going to figure it out, but you're going to get a little bit better with each day. And over time, it's going to evolve. And just when you think that you're going to get it, guess what? It's going to reset. And I think that that's the thing that ends up happening is, which is, a lot of people try to go pedal to the floor, but I think the best thing to actually do is just to stay consistent. You can't go on cruise, but you have to just keep that full tension the entire time because that's also how people are going to be able to get on board with you as well.
Yeah. And you never know when things are going to completely have to pivot.
Nope.
COVID, or another
Perfect
location
example.
opens, or a location closes. Name whatever change is going to hit your world, but you have to be ready to
Yeah.
evolve and adjust to that. You mentioned Earn Your Stripes, and the marketing girly at heart. Tell me about how this brand came to be, and tell me about like the backstory of Earn Your Stripes.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, but wow, this is my second URSA Institute reference, but I was down actually on the vendor side. So I was working with Active Solutions. I did a stint there for a year. And I came across my now Earn Your Stripes partner where I was trying to help him sell some of the equipment. I mean, Beaver Fit's a partner of ours here with EYS. He was like, I had this idea. I really want to do a military inspired workout because I bought this gym on Old Fort Monmouth in Central Jersey. I didn't know where it was from because anything past Princeton to us is New York City, us South Jerseyans. And I was like, well, I've had this concept based around ranking and achievements, and I love the military theme. And I said, I think that I can try to marry something. So it really just kind of sparked from two guys probably having a bourbon, just having a conversation about, I have this idea and I have this idea. So my master's is in sport and exercise psychology. So I'm really big on the feedback loop and habit and behavior. I always tell everyone I'm the king of consistency because I'm very routine, sometimes to a fault. We came together, and the other partner that was involved was a military veteran. So now we had the finance guy, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street. We had the military, and then we had the fitness professional. We kind of just sat down, pen and paper, and I just bled everything out. I put together a pitch deck to him because, fortunately, he was the money guy. I was the idea guy. And we said, let's see if we can actually make this happen. There were delays, COVID, all the stuff. And then I was with City Fitness at the time, and he just basically said, like, hey, if you want to make this happen, I'll go all in with you. And yeah, so that's when I ended up and moving my family up here. So, the whole idea behind it is it's very experiential. Every studio say, oh, so are we, or oh, we have ranks and everything else. I think the military theme has become a key differentiator because you actually are being ranked, starting out as a private or a cadet and then working your way through to become a general. And what's built into it is you want to keep going farther. We see the studios when you take the picture, I did 250, or what Orange does with splat points, or any of the other ones that you can end up coming up with. But we're also multimodality. We have a 4-station circuit style program, but we also have a combat program, which is half boxing, half floor. And we're trying to break into the other markets, which are having an EYS cadets program for kids, because we'd rather teach them with us, the professionals, and EYS vets for older adults, which hasn't really been touched on too much in the studio space, because I believe my model in this is that we want people to be in the center. I don't want that 11 to 5 shutdown every single day. To me, I'm just paying rent, or if I can own the space, we're just losing out on opportunity. So, we're at our infancy. We've only been doing this thing for just about 3 years now. But the feedback continues. I mean, we continue to say, like, all right, well, we're in beta. But fortunately, we started making all the next steps as far as meeting with the franchise attorneys, and all those questions will be soon coming your way, so I don't do it wrong. But yeah, it's been really exciting to see. And I think part of it too that people don't think about is, like, even what vendors we choose in our original sort of like rundown of how we wanted the studio, because we wanted to be very modular. I was always inspired by what EK did with Regimen. I always liked his model. He was one that I thought did a phenomenal job, and he's extremely intelligent. But we needed to have the modularity, so we had to test. And sometimes until you got it in and made that commitment, you didn't know. Now we feel like, you know what? We're ready. So that's what we're about to do.
I can think of 3 franchise concepts that are ginormous, that have not necessarily a military inspired workout, but they've definitely taken a military specific approach to their franchise growth.
Yeah.
There's a big overlap in franchising and military veterans because of the ability of a veteran to follow a playbook, and like that's all of franchising, right? Is like hand somebody a playbook and then they go and execute. And Orange Theory, F45, Restore all have a foundation of franchise owners that are military veterans. And I don't think it's by accident that they have that foundation, nor is it by accident that they've been successful with that foundation, because of that dynamic of, like, we know the playbook. We also know that, like, we want to have the feedback loop. We want to empower owners as they go to, like, be a part of it with us, and not, it's not the ivory tower kind of approach that you get in some franchises. So we will all be watching what you're doing as you're entering the franchise game potentially soon.
We keep always, like, it's over on the wall over there. It says there is a soldier in everyone, and we're here to set it free. And we always, use the sort of how we start the class. We always say we start together, we end together. No person left behind. And these recurring themes, I don't want to say it's subliminal because I don't want to make it feel like I'm trying to psychologically challenge the people. But I had just dropped a LinkedIn post, maybe it was yesterday, about that setup and that commitment to being able to get people in. Like, I always said, like, you have to follow a script. It goes to, like, giving a playbook to a franchisee. That's what that is. And you can probably attest to this as well, but when you follow it, there's a reason it's there. I think that's why the best sports teams or the best athletes or companies and businesses is because they follow it, but at times are inflexible, or they follow the coaches, mentors, and other people to be able to end up helping them get there. I'm very humbled to say that, like, I'm just proud of all the people that went before us that I can follow and learn from. And for myself, I try to take from a lot of other industry as well, and how we sort of try to refine this recipe to be able to make this awesome thing happen.
I saw the LinkedIn post that you're referencing, and you're talking about like the first 5 minutes of class
Yeah.
also.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the pieces that people who go from big box into boutique often miss, is that it is such a motivational environment and also an accountable environment, and it's a time sensitive environment. Like in a
hmm
boutique space, you're appealing to somebody who wants to get in and out of class in 45 minutes. They want to crush it. And so any time that's on the front end that's lagging, that's spent slowly explaining, everyone's standing still. It's
hmm
exactly the same if you're coaching kids. You never want kids standing around in a circle looking at you like, what do I do now? No, it's like, get them moving. And as they're moving, tell them what the next thing is. Like, so coaching
Yep.
in a boutique, I think, has that uniqueness to those first 5 minutes. Like, the pace has to be set of like, here's
Yeah.
what we're going to be doing. And this is the energy I'm bringing to it. And like having that instructor dynamic is just huge.
Yeah, it's no different. I could relate it to holding a meeting. It's like we sit down in the meeting and then I immediately just start firing stuff off. Did we not have a quick pre-conversation before we jumped onto this?
Hmm.
Like we set the tone for what it was to be,
Hmm.
and that's why I think it's so great when everybody comes in. Like I tell people when I coach, I'm like, I run this is a train. That once that train leaves the station, there's no coming in, and I have built that in. Right
Yeah.
when I stole that when I was an adjunct professor. I used to do it with my class, so you would see the students running down, and I would shut the door. It was great. Yeah,
I'm the
and
same with Zoom calls. I'm like, if you're
yeah,
late to a Zoom, the
yeah,
Zoom has already started. We're not waiting
yeah.
for you. Like the train has left the station.
But people want the sense of accomplishment, and that's that whole thing. This is what we're going to be doing today, not you're going to. This is what we are doing today. This is what we are setting out to do. And damn it, I am going to get you there every step of the way. Because what did they do when they came in? Maybe just had a shitty night's sleep. Okay. Maybe they're already checking their email, which is the dumbest thing that you can do first thing in the morning, and their headspace isn't in there. And now I have to transform this person. Or what if it's 7:30 and they just had to do the boat commute from the city over into the town, and you need to be able to be that. I think people miss that opportunity and start to go through the motion. It's like, all right, let me go start the program. It's a little bit of a mirror match. Not everybody can you end up giving the rah rah, but you can at least make sure your bookends are really, really, really tied together. And then
Yeah.
coach to what the person needs at that given time. Yeah. That's what makes it a lot of fun.
I love the boutique space for that exact reason. And I'm big right now on the idea that like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And
hmm
you always show up in a way that is above and beyond the baseline, not just energetically, but your presence is always very present.
hmm
I know you are bringing your presence to the Club Solutions retreat in September.
Yeah.
Are there topics you can tease to us about what you're going to be running through as that train leaves the station?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, I have to book that flight. Uh,
Plenty of time. You have plenty
yeah.
of
Yeah.
time. It's
Plenty of.
September.
I
You
told you
can,
I'm type A. I got to plan this. So I'm doing staffing. So, like I said, I am an educator, right? At the heart of who I am an educator. So, I actually have a couple different ideas for where I want to go with it. One side being is how you motivate your veterans. That can be a really good roundtable topic. But I want to speak to coaching as a whole. It does become a challenge because people sometimes don't prioritize it, or sometimes the people in the position don't have the right skill set to pull the most out of people. But I want people to think of what are easy ways that you can actually implement coaching to be able to, help with your staffing retention. I'd rather stay away from the recruitment side because I think sometimes that's marketing and branding as compared to being able to dive into your current people. So probably segmenting like, hey, what's ideas for the first 30 to set them off? What's that 60 to 180 look like? And then thereafter, because 6 months and beyond, kind of you're the veteran at the club sometimes, you're at the studio sometimes. So that's where I want to lead. I mean, I'm excited because Marissa is a good friend of mine. I actually consult on a project with her right now. Maria is another good friend, and Derek. So the Club Solutions team, I like to think they put together a really good group together. And I've done some of their past events, and it's always it's invaluable because you get to really be able to have the conversations that you don't necessarily always get to have at some of the larger events, and you can actually get to connect a little bit deeper.
When I was at the Club Solutions retreat last year, we talked a bit about retention, and the conversation almost became or wove into coaching Gen Z talent. And a lot of the owners being boomers or
Yes.
maybe Gen X really, really are having a tough time connecting with Gen
Yeah.
Z. Where do you land on that? And how do you try to coach both sides so that we can bridge the gap between the generations?
I've had experience with a couple clubs that I've done either like ed sessions for, or that I've actually gone in and done sort of like short consulting stints. Um, because I've had both those situations where I'm working with maybe that sort of Gen Z early manager or the owner who's the boomer. We have to stick to what our strengths are in each of these different things, because I also think like even at myself, I'm 39 now, is like, I try to run against traffic sometimes because I think that that's where you end up finding how resourceful you can actually end up being. And I think that's kind of what this Gen Z does, is that we already know that they're a very passionate group of people. We know that they like to have greater purpose beyond what they're doing. And I think that it's honestly on us to have to adapt and evolve a little bit more, because they're also really good at being able to lead with their hearts. They're really good with technology. If you can find that type of person that has that, then I think you actually end up working it into what your rhythm is. You don't have to change everything that your organization's been doing, but I think it's important that you listen to them and hear them, because that's the thing that means the most to them, is being able to provide them the platforms to be able to have a voice, and knowing that they're heard and not dismissed definitely will go a long way. And I'm sure that's probably what a lot of people at the retreat ended up saying. And I think for, whether it's a boomer owner or not, is, find bridges. And what I mean by these bridges is like, find the people who maybe can connect. Maybe it's somebody who is a parent of a Gen Zer and they can share the experience, and educate yourself on what it is. Don't just say, oh, well, they're this. Do you even know if that's what they are? And guess what? I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to universally say things about people. So no, they aren't all this.
Yeah.
That's like saying that because I'm tattooed or something. Gratefully, that became a normal thing now.
You're trendy now, Matt, for sure,
Oh,
with those tattoos.
I'm so cool.
I'm obsessed with this younger generation because I have a 13-year-old, but also because I've seen in managing young talent how much better they are than me at doing some of the things that I thought I was good at. And I think it really just took me getting comfortable, maybe almost as a test. Like, I'm going to test them. Like, here, do this. And then they come back and do it better than me. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Like, I have
yeah,
to check myself. Like, I have to eat some humble pie here and realize that they're going to have some better solutions to the things that you already think you have dialed in, including social media is the biggest one in my mind. So I'm 44 and I try to be big on social, but I'm nowhere compared to how
yeah,
much these kids are online and how much they not just
yeah,
consume, but also create.
yep,
And one of the topics came to phones in the club, and phones in the club for members, and then phones in the club for staff also. And it's just such an interesting topic because one of the other things that you posted recently was about like AI being, something that's
yeah,
coming up. It's like, no, the train has left the station. AI is here.
yeah,
Phones in hand always is here. Like, it is that moment. Like, we have to realize, like, if you put a a line in the employee handbook that says no phones on the gym floor, like you're going to either lose your people or you're not going to be able to find good people. And so what is the correct guardrail to put up around like how we show up on the club floor? And it's more so like, here's what needs to get done: 5 feet away, eye contact, 2 feet away, a hello. Like those are the things that need to get done. And so if you
Mhm.
can get that done, we don't need to restrict, like the phones are, we're trying to solve the issue by saying no phones, but let's coach to the real issue, which is like, do we know what needs to be done from a customer service perspective or from a member engagement perspective? It's like we're focused on the wrong things, or we're
There.
focused on the things that we can see as opposed to empower.
I kind of get a laugh because as you were speaking, I was starting to think about like, hey, when you become a member, make sure you download our app.
Yeah.
Use it for check-in. So we want you to have your phone, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, this app that we use has push notifications. So if we have a smoothie deal, that you'll actually get it when you're at the club. And it's like, wait, so, but we don't want you using your cell phone, even though that's where it is.
Yeah.
And we do. We're a very, very digital world. It's extremely resourceful. Like even for myself, I mean, it's probably wrong, but if I audiobook because I have a commute until I move down in August, I'll listen to an audiobook and then I'll dictate into my phone because it's convenient for me. I'm not actually, I normally don't do audio. I actually like to read everything, but that helps me right then and there. Whatever it might be is like no different. Like we're trying to make those doors easier to be able to open for people. So what if I just need to listen to a call or something and react and say every now and then? So, from a staff sense, I think that's tough. I mean, could you imagine going to the bank to pull money and they're just on their phone? Could you imagine going to your waitress and you going to end up taking the order? Like, we're in the hospitality and service business. Now, do I think that we need to put it under lock and key when you're at the front desk and nobody's coming in because it's a quiet Sunday afternoon? No, I'm never going to get upset about that. Do I want ring lights and all these other things throughout my space? No, not in my model by any means. I know several companies out there that they like that. I mean, I've already heard of these sort of social media or influencer rooms, and more power to them if that's what you want, for whether it was here or at Healthtrax. We're family focused, but it's not what we want necessarily to be in there.
Yeah.
But it once again becomes is like we are constantly evolving, and that's what I had said in that post, which was I wrote AI is not coming, and I didn't purposely do it as clickbait, but I said it's here.
Yeah.
Is I can't tell you how many countless hours that I have saved by being able to throw something in there real quick just to sometimes get my brain going. I'm not a copy paster, but it definitely helps me get ideas from time to time. I think I used the one through Meta the other day. I booked my 40th to go to London, and I just typed in like, what things should I do? I like this, and it was really cool. All the things that it actually put out. So
Yeah.
it definitely does help. So it's not going anywhere. It
Yeah.
really isn't. And yes, we will. I don't want to ever remove humans and feeling and heart and emotion from the equation ever. But I
Yeah.
do think it's a common balance, and sometimes it's you have to set the precedent and hold to the letter of the law. So don't let it happen sometimes, not the other. And I think that's where a lot of the battles actually become.
And I think there's a balance between knowing what we know is right and then also being open to other things being right also. And I
Hmm.
feel that with the recovery game right now, there's a solid case to be made that gyms should start reducing cardio equipment footprint, add more square footage for recovery type services.
Hmm.
And I think back to being at Gold's Gym and just the the way that they would chase trends in and bring things into their footprint just way too late. It
Hmm.
feels the same. It feels like the same moment for the gym industry where we're just like trying to fight for, well, this is what it should be, like should be. And we're slow to say, this is what the consumers want, or to use your point, like this is what's going to get people in the doors. And so I think it's going to be an interesting few years, even being at Ursa. there was a lot of things missing from IRSA that are an important part of an
Hmm.
overall wellness equation. And
Yeah.
so are we as an industry just blinders on, doubling down on what we know used to be true, and we're missing what will be or what is
Hmm.
already happening, or it's already here, and we're just missing the boat because we just want to stay in what worked 3 years ago.
Oh man. All right. So loaded, and I could like really go off. If we have like another 2 hours, I can hit this one. We are so focused on memberships and people, and I think that's the craziest thing. My URSA talk this year was on driving ancillaries. And honestly, it wasn't just about like driving it. Everything was honestly about customer service and experience and making sure that people happy and being the cheers of fitness. And once again, I've said it a few times, meeting people where they are. Like, what do people want right now? They want to be able to do recovery. They want to be able to have childcare because shit's really expensive right now. They want to be able to have a place that they can feel comfortable going within 10 miles of their home or within their work, whichever is most convenient for them. And we're so quick to want to dip our toes in the water, or, like kind of like tell your friend when it's like, all right, you jump off the water tower first into the river. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, like, I think that that's what it is. Sometimes you just have to end up going or doing the whole, I do like the beta test concept, which is, try it a little bit. And then if you can start to just pour more gasoline on the fire to make it a little bit bigger. I think some of the bigger organizations do have the ability to do that. We're doing that with a new program that I just put together to specifically onboard and retain members through a sort of like a journey program so that we can put people more on pathways as compared to saying, oh, well, this is what you do when you come here. Now we're putting the strength in the consumer's hand to say, this is what I want through all of our amenity services and programs. I guess one of the things that I'll sort of kick back is, does it surprise you that there's not as many people putting into the boutique space as much? Because they're like dabbling but not doing it, like the recovery centers and things like that. Because I think the other part of it is like people don't know what to expect. It's like, oh, cold plunges. Does that shit even work? It's like, oh, like, oh, we're gonna do these recovery things. And it's like, okay, does that work? Is it placebo effect that people are saying like, oh, it feels better? Yes, pull every research article. I don't need you to send them to me. I get it. I believe in all this stuff. But sometimes the people whose names are on the checks that we all receive every other week, they don't fully end up understanding it, and it's trying to figure out. So I always push it back to the vendors and say, vendors, stop selling your products and start delivering the solutions and how we're going to be able to make money and how it's going to make both our staff happier, and as well as our members.
So I was just at the Dave Asprey's biohacking conference, and
Oh
you
yeah.
and I were both at URSA,
Yep.
and I'm also tied in with some like medical health and wellness companies, more like a one step further than Restore.
Yeah.
And what I see that's interesting is those places are popping up like crazy. And so then you have a Restore type facility where you can layer services together, and somebody might be paying $30 for hyperbaric, but they're going to layer on a $20 brain tap while they're doing the hyperbaric. And so then that 1 hour of their time becomes a $50 drop in
Hmm.
service. And then
Yep.
before they walk out, they're maybe doing an IV or they're grabbing a juice shot or something like that. And so you have a small footprint real estate that is in an hour or an hour and a half, like offering layered services for their members, and it's high revenue. And
Hmm.
so then again, as the gym industry kind of sits, we're not going to evolve. We're just going to sit where we are. We're missing this whole wave of wellness that incorporates more recovery, that is more passive fitness, which is so trendy right now for consumers. Like passive wellness opens the doors. It
Hmm.
because it's easy, right? Like people don't want to do high intensity all the time. They want
No.
to do easy things, sauna. They
Yeah.
want to do hyperbaric. They want to do the hyper ice, leg compression,
Yeah.
like those kind of things. And so then are we entering a place where it's not just, we used to talk about the gym industry as like the middle was getting crunched by Planet being low end
The
and Equinox
squeeze.
being
Yep.
high end, and so the middle's getting squeezed. Is the entire space about to get squeezed because you're about to have places like Earn Your Stripes, like we have your high intensity over here, and then we have your recovery center in like a Restore, and then we have your yoga over here, and all of a sudden people are paying more dollars to do what could have been done in a big box. For like big box could establish themselves as like, we are the center for health and wellness, but
Hmm.
instead it's, we are the center for cardio and strength training. And so much of health and wellness has pushed out of or beyond cardio and
Sure.
strength training.
Sure.
And I just want to, I want to like shake people and say you're missing all
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
And look at your own life and what you do. Are you just doing like cardio and strength? Like, no, everybody's doing like all these different things. And maybe they're not going to be so far into the deep end that they're doing
Yeah.
the cold plunge, but sauna is an easier example. Like, how many people are like going to sauna studios,
Yeah.
$150 a month, $180 a month memberships? We're losing the fitness wallet in the big box side. I say we because I have like, my heart is with
Yeah.
Golds and
Oh, of
with
course.
UFit. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, we're losing, but it's like, now I'm on the other side of it. I'm in the boutique space. And I think boutique is really crushing it from that perspective
Yep.
of giving consumers what they want, putting it into recurring memberships, meeting them where they are, having customized plans that evolve over time. And that's what I see as it's just an interesting dilemma to be in big box right now, of just like, I think there really is a need to evaluate what is the offering.
Fear of the unknown because it's new, right? There's so much that's reliant on word of mouth. Oh, well, what are they doing? I think the second thing is obviously the two big players, both Equinox and Lifetime. You can see that they are making the investments there. Three, a lot of the privately owned or franchised owns aren't super cash positive to want to make the investments. But I think sometimes it's like, oh, well, we can't invest in that because we still have to do X, Y, and Z. And it's probably saying, well, we need more members. But if we can keep it, right? Everyone knows cost per acquisition is always way greater than cost of retention. That's part of why we're moving towards, because, we're not fortunate to be able to put a recovery studio in every place, or a brand new sauna, or plunges, or, partner with somebody who can end up doing IVs, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. If we can better elevate the programs and the things that we can do by making smart, deliberate, and intentional decisions, and then how we put it out there. Because where I probably spend my most time with people is outside of being able to build consistent habits, but is getting people to truly understand sales through service and experience. And then getting people, like, I always laugh when like they're like, oh, my salesperson, they're really not that good at sales. The hell are they on your sales team for then? Like, and it's like we're almost like just beat the dead horse in that regard too. Um, so I relate that to the whole going into the recovery, which is like, figure out the one that makes most sense. I mean, send a survey to your members. Hey, of these four recovery modalities, what's most important to you? And then do your research and then try to figure out, talk to the people who this is what they do. Yeah, but I agree. I mean, I think there's so much opportunity for it. One thing even that we are piloting down, I had even forgot, down in our Florida studio, is we developed EYS Core, which was more that low intensity training, because once again, in a studio model, I don't want them to feel like they have to go over to the other place and spend $149 with us and $179 with them. We want them to feel like they can have these different types of modalities. I mean, obviously, we also have to be able to have a franchisable footprint. So it's not like I can start offering a studio that has childcare, a studio that has all these different things, because then it just becomes too much money to be able to get the people to invest. But there are great ways that boutiques have. So we have partnerships down there. We have multiple reciprocal relationships where you end up having different benefits by being able to be a part of that community. And I think that's where the opportunity actually lies.
Yeah.
Is you find another potential, entrepreneur like yourself who gets it and isn't just about the money, and they're about actually delivering what people want, which is trying to live healthier, happier, more prosperous lives.
I totally agree. I want to pivot away from, I know we just spent way too long in fitness, like going off on the rants, but you and I both love this space. So I want to circle back to one of your other recent LinkedIn posts. You posted, before you ask, what should I do today? Ask yourself, what should I remove today? Create the space you need to succeed. And that's a James Clear quote. So as we head into the second half of 2024, what are you removing from your world?
Oh man, that's actually a really great question. My number one is I've actually deleted Instagram and Facebook from my phone. I literally only go on to post. I call myself a selfish user, which means I literally will go on, maintain relevance, but then I sign off. So if I don't like your comment, I apologize. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. I like to check Facebook memories and I check birthdays for people who are important who I might not know. But that was actually a really, really big removal for me. One of the other things that I had shared, I don't know if it was in that one, maybe it was another one. It was on my don't do list.
Mm.
That was sort of on the same because I had just wrapped up The Wealth Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma, which was excellent. But one of my other ones was like errands or like going around, like I'm just spending the extra $5 or $10 or $15 to Instacart, to DoorDash, whatever else, if it's Target. You know, sometimes if I want to get the kids out of the house because it's raining, I'll pack them into the car and end up going. But I'd rather spend that time actually in play with my kids or with my wife or reading, exercising, recovering. So that would actually probably end up being my second. And third is honestly, this is just very direct, but I'm no longer giving time to people that aren't paying me for my value or wisdom, etc. I've said yes so many years at the detriment to myself sometimes. And I'm not saying like, oh, don't call me now. I'm always going to help my friends and do that type of thing. But I do have a consulting business. I would like to invest more time in that. So that kind of works hand in hand as a do more investing into the consulting side. Don't give it away for free.
It is very difficult when you're a service driven person, like I know you are. But it's good that you set that boundary. I'm very proud of you for setting that boundary.
It's very hard because I am, it's the goal is to be this multiplier. I think that hits with people is like, I want to be a multiplier because I hope that something that you take today or something somebody else hears could then take that to somebody else. So that's where I always think of like my influence. And that's what it actually, this all sparked from one of the, my daughter's, little friend's mom's at ballet. But I told her like, yeah, we do a little bit of social media. And she goes, really? She goes, you're so inspiring. It's going to be weird not to see what you have. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll change how I'm utilizing this to actually, because we do just like you do. Like, I love the content that you share. I love all the stuff the Fit Insider grew. I love the Metabolic crew. There's like certain people, I use LinkedIn is that's where I really spend my actual time. And then what I also did was I removed any of the people that I just don't feel like really connecting and following with on Instagram so that when I do go on, it's vacation stuff. It's honestly like now I keep getting all the little like cute little notes that you would send to your wife that I've been firing off to my wife. So that pours into me some parent things. I like dad stuff. Manchester United. That's what I want to hear. So, I call it addition by subtraction. I'm adding more to what means the most to me by actually getting rid of other things.
When you posted that and I commented and you commented back to me, what are you getting rid of? And I said, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just been that kind of year where it feels like more. And I don't know what's going to grow. And so I'm just trying to plant more, connect more, do more, and then have that sit back and see what's clicking and what's not.
It's another time, but I know there's things, just so you know.
It's difficult. Okay, one final question. I know you are a voracious reader. What are you reading right now? And are there any post-it notes of learnings that you want to share with the fam?
Oh man. Right. So in my book library. Oh, Slight Edge, I just recommended that actually to one of the things. So there's a lot. So I'm actually reading right now an oldie but a goodie, and it's The Millionaire Next Door. And then because I have this commute right now, I'm audioing Dave Grohl's book. Oh my gosh, it is just so good. It's a story of like different sort of like tales through his career. It's a storyteller series.
What is the name of that one?
Storyteller expanded because there's more to the story, and it's Dave Grohl. Yeah, but it's really good. It's really cool. I'm a drummer, so him being the drummer for Nirvana and then frontman to Foo Fighters, and I actually saw them play 20 minutes from here last year. All right, so I'm gonna go a different route. So number one book that I ever recommend to people is The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, Achor. I'm a very happy person. I am like this basically 98% of the time. My wife will maybe tell you 96, but that's hands down probably the number one that I end up pushing to people. Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. That's another really, really good one. I think there's certain events and things that happen in your life that you have to look out for. And it sometimes creates doors or shuts doors that you don't realize that you need to figure out what you need to be doing. Continuing on this theme, of course, like Culture Code, and I like that one. And then Talent Code. Those are both Daniel Coyle. They're like getting me excited over here talking about
I know
books.
we're gonna have to put together like a Matt Wright reading list. I know you've posted your reading list recently.
And,
so
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is another one. Yeah, have you read it?
Yes.
Okay. My biggest takeaway from it is it's an energyism, but like, is it worth it to live in here? And I think that's where that could end up helping with us. I could pull that back to so many things about the cell phone thing, about the Gen Z thing, about the boomer thing, about the recovery thing, about this. We allow a lot of things to end up living in here, but if it's not bringing us joy, is it really? It's like the Marie Kondo version of life. Does it bring you joy so you can get rid of clutter in your house? But is what you're doing bringing you happiness? And it's not going to happen every single day. So I think that stands out.
Where can people find you or connect with you, since you are on a social media detox?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn honestly is the best because I use it, and that's where I actually post the most. I think I'm just listed there as Matt Wright. It's WRIGHT. Feel free to follow on Instagram. It's Matt Wright Fitness. Like I said, it's mostly just my children. Although I did run into one of my former actually members at the studio here in Starbucks this morning. He actually said to me, he's like, dude, why don't you try to get into the like social game and all this other stuff? And he was like, there's a lot of people out there, but I would follow you. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Now it's just not the time. I just took a new job. I just transitioned. I'm trying to grow the studio, but I do have aspirations to somehow end up thinking how to leverage it a little bit better, because one of those filters I put myself through is, if I'm not trying to do those things, am I really doing what I am placed on this earth to do, which is to inspire people and to make more impact. So
you can inspire and make a lot of impact online, and it's just having the boundary to know when it's impacting your time or impacting your mental health.
Yep.
Is there anything that's top of your mind that we didn't talk about today that you want to leave as a final nugget of inspiration?
No, I'll leave it with my quote to live by, which is a Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that's why we live and lead this life of service. So it's why I come on and do this. It's such a pleasure. I'm so glad when Crystal introduced us. That was Miami, actually, 2 years ago. It just showed up on my time hop, actually, or whatever, Facebook memories. So
we'll drop in the photo that we took at the bar and sent to Crystal when we were finally able to connect in person.
Yeah, I like that. It's my screensaver, actually.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure. Like, it just jumps over the kid photos and all those fun things.
Nah, you were awesome. I really appreciate your time. This was a phenomenal conversation.
I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the energy you bring to all the things and all of the positivity that you try to spread through the industry. And I think the industry is in good hands with you as one of the living legends. So I look forward to connecting with you, maybe at Club Solutions, but certainly we'll be connecting online as well.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Society Pod.